Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. It's Kim here. And first of all, I would like to say Happy New Year 2025. Can you believe it? Oh my goodness, I don't know where 2024 went. The year just flew right by me. So I'm hoping that I can get a little bit more creative and have more time in 2025. I just feel like it was a whirlwind last year. Anyway, this is one of a couple of videos that are my first videos of the year. I don't know if this one will actually show up first or not, but today is the 7th if you're watching it. So I am part of the Declutter and Get Organized Collaboration 2025. And this is organized by Cara Brandon Creations. And there is a hashtag Declutter Organized 2025. It's all in the description and in the title. And there's links to all kinds of fun stuff. First of all, if you're watching this and this is the first video you're watching, then you have to go back and watch some of the other ones, because every day there is a different creator, YouTuber, who is showcasing something to help you get organized, declutter, just some different tips. Cara Brandon has a special guest on the 3rd of January. So there's lots of fun and interesting things to learn to help organize your creative space. And I'm among the great. I just feel so honored to be a part of this. We've got Gail Agostinelli, Corey Dahlman, Kathleen Moore, and of course Cara Brandon, and many, many others that I don't know all the names off by heart, but it's all listed in the description below. And I believe there's a calendar that you can go to. I will have the link there because I haven't done the description yet. I'm just recording the video. But there's a calendar, and if you click on it, then you can go to the actual calendar page and click on each day as the YouTubers get their video out. So it will take you directly to their site. So if you are new to my channel, welcome to the channel. I hope you will, like and subscribe. I hope I'm going to show you something fun and interesting. I do have a second date in this collaboration because she had she was trying to organize different topics and things, and I said, well, I could do this and I could do that, or I could do this or that, and she said yes. So she gave me a second date. So later on in the month I will have a partial studio tour. I think I'm going to let you tour my desktop, because I always talk about my desktop, so this will force me to clean it up even better, and you can see how I work in this little space and how long my table is over there, to have an idea of why things are the way they are. But I'm going to clean it up nice. And I have a tip of something that I use for organizing on my desk that's pretty cool. So I think you will have fun with that as well. So my project today is some spools that you can use for your lace and your snippet rolls and all kinds of things that are so fun and easy to make. Just to give you an idea, I hope you kept your packaging rolls from your wrapping paper if you wrapped presents for Christmas and you used paper rolls. And if not, at least I hope you kept your toilet paper rolls. Or either that, or get everybody to get going so that you can use toilet paper rolls, because that's what we're going to start with and what we're going to use. So I should show you first what we're making. And I just started making them again. It's it's a long story, but there was a time where I wasn't fond of spools, but I just started making them again, and I'm in love with them again. So here's one with a snippet roll on it. It's quite a long, intense roll. I think there's actually 2 or 3 in shades of pink. This one has strips of bed sheets on it. Like, look at these rolls. Aren't they fun? So this one has strips of bed sheets on it. You would not believe, like it's not even half full, and you would not believe how much is on here. There's got to be at least 15 yards of bed sheet on here. So a great way to store it, a great way to gift it if you are in an area where you have other journalers in your area that you can share things with. This is a fun way to gift it for somebody. The way I've made them is you can stack them. So if you have a shelf you want to put them on, they're nice to stack. But I thought I'd show you some different ones that I've made. This is a green snippet. It's kind of a funky fabric that I've made here. Because I like to store my snippet rolls like rolls. And so here's one in, and then I just cut off when I want to use a piece of it. And I was getting a little low on snippet rolls, and I've had them folded up in a bin, and I thought, I don't remember that they're there, and then I'm starting from scratch to make things. I really need them to be organized in a way where I can see them. And as much as I would like to give you a whole studio tour, there is a little bit of cleanup work that I got to do in order to get it done. And it just hasn't been happening. So I'm going to show you my studio in little sections. That's going to be my goal for 2025, is to let you see sections of my studio so you have a better idea of how I work. So yeah, when I make snippet rolls, I make lots or I make long lengths. So this is a great way to store them for now. This is what I like for now. It's flavor of the month. I could change next month. But I've been having fun with this. And this is a white snippet roll. This is a huge one. I used part of a toilet paper roll on this, or not toilet paper, a paper towel roll on this one. But this is my white snippet. Now I have to stop at this length. It's probably about 3 yards. And I just, when I make these, I just add and add and add. It starts out with a piece of bed sheet on the bottom, and then I just keep adding things onto it, and then I connect as I go along. But this one is done because I can't fit anymore, and I have been cutting off of it. I like making them white on white because then I can dye them in any color. So this is one of my snippet rolls, and you can see it's whatever I have. So sometimes it gets wider, sometimes narrower, and just a fun way to store them where they're decorative, they look nice. I always say that, if you have your supplies out and you create a visual, it just helps to get the creativity flowing. I do take time at least once a week. I take time, and my studio is messy. It's messy as all get out, and there's no help for me. There isn't a 12-step program for me at all. But for the most part, I can see everything, and I do take time at least once in a week to go around and look at stuff and touch and feel, just because it reminds you of what you have. And it's nice to get that creative inspiration, because sometimes I walk past something and go, oh yeah, I was going to make some of these. So for me, the visual, the decorations and seeing everything done is what gets me excited. And my husband comes in here sometimes and he'll just say, it's so beautiful in here. No wonder you want to work in here all the time. So it's just a fun way to show off my stuff and have it handy to use. So here's another one in pink. This one is made up of several different ones, because sometimes my snippets, they start out, sometimes 2-3 yards, but then by the time they're cut down, I just have pieces left. So I just stuck them all on this one. And then I did do a couple of small ones because I do make some thin little snippets. And I don't know if you remember, but I did a class on these flowers and continue to work on this snippet roll. These little flowers are made with seam binding. If you look in my playlists on my channel, you'll find flowers, and these were made out of 3 inches of seam binding each flower. So if those little scrawny little pieces, I always save them and make flowers out of them. And just a little teal blue. But this was part of what I did is I just cut a smaller spool down to 3 inches, I think it was 2.5 actually. So that's what I used as the base on this one, and just a smaller circle. So I'm going to put those away, and then we're going to get started making them. just a second here. I've got a big basket full of them, and they will go up on my shelf eventually. And then I will take you around on a tour of my lace and trims so that you can see what all that looks like. But that'll be further down in the month. And so for the Declutter collaboration, I will be doing a desktop studio tour. So you will see my desktop and how that works, and because I can talk for hours, so even that video will be long and winded. To do a whole studio tour, I would have to just walk through and just say, this is this section, and then come back and do them all. But it's a little bit messy. So I'd be best to just do one section for now, and then slowly work my way, and then do the whole tour. So what do you need? You need some you need some paper rolls. I have some left over from Christmas wrapping. I have my toilet paper rolls as well. You need, it is optional, but, and I will explain that as we go along, but I'm using some wooden dowels. I don't know if you remember when I went thrifting, I took apart a placemat that had, these were all in the placemat lined up. There was 49 of these wooden dowels. And when I bought the placemat, I was going to get wooden dowels, was my next stop. And when I saw these, it was like, well, I paid $2 for the 2 placemats. And I know that a package of wooden dowels would have cost me at least that, if not more. And I wouldn't have got as many. And they're all stained very lovely. Now, if you don't have wooden dowels, it is an optional thing. You can decide that yourself. But if you don't have wooden dowels, you can also use a straw or some type of a plastic tube, or maybe you have some wooden pencils that you can cut up. So there are options to change it out if you don't have these. And then you need some circles. Now I cut these out of corrugated cardboard. I use my die cutter tool. You can hand cut them, absolutely. Mine are 4 inches in diameter. I also have some 3-inch and 2-in-1, I think, down here. So I cut those. So I'll take 2 of those off right now, because I'm gonna do a toilet paper roll, because we all have these. And then you need some collage-y bits of paper, just to collage and finish your pieces so that they look nice. Now I'm just using book pages because I kind of wanted them to be neutral. I started out, I did one in color, and then I realized, well, when I empty the roll, then I'm left with the idea that I must fill it with something that is complementary. So I thought if I just do them in book pages, they match no matter what, and then I don't have that flash of color. You know, the snippet rolls or lace or trim or whatever it is that I put on them is colorful enough. So to have all that added color, for me, you know, my OCD kicks in and I can't handle it. So it's better that I just do neutral. But yeah, just some kind of collage-y bits that, you know, even if you make master boards and you have all those little bits and pieces, they would be fine to work with, to make your, to decorate with. I use some tissue paper for another part of this. And, you know, I use tissue paper to cover the edges of the roll. But you could easily use washi tape or mulberry paper or anything. But when we get to that, you'll see how it's used and how it makes this finish on the end. And again, you know, I can use napkins, whatever you want. It's just to cover the edges so you don't have these little lifting bits. You need some type of tool to make holes. I'm using my big bite. I can't remember what it's called. It's the Crocodile, but the bigger one. Crocodile 2, it says on here. Only because I've lined up the circle so I know where to put the hole, and it's just perfect for me. And then if you want to collage on the tops of these, like I did do a couple of them, I'll show them to you. You can do all kinds of fun decorative things. I like them that they can stack, so I don't want anything dimensional on here, but you could glue buttons and gems and make all kinds of fun things. And these would actually be very pretty if you do craft shows or art shows. These would be really pretty to use as a pedestal stand, just by itself. So you could actually display something on top of here if you wanted. So there is another option for making these to be stands. And if I've forgotten anything else, well, you need your glue and anything to a type of glue papers to work off of. But if I've forgotten anything, I'll let you know as we go along. Okay, so I've got my 2 circles here and my toilet paper roll. Now, when you're making these, something I've discovered that I didn't realize is that toilet papers come in different lengths. So that might be something to consider when you're buying toilet paper. But also to consider when you're making these. Now, the standard to me is this smaller one. That seems to be the more common one because I went and checked all my toilet paper rolls. And this one is 4 inches, whereas this one is 4.5. So again, you just want to make sure you know the measurements when you're working with these, because when you're applying your different mediums on top. Anyway, I'm going to work with a 4-inch one because that just makes it easiest. Get that out of my way. And I'll come to this after. So these are the basics that you need right now. And I need a glue paper and a glue stick. Now, unfortunately, you will have to watch me glue this because I don't have any that are half ready. But I think it's pretty fast. It's not that intense. And I start out by covering the paper roll. Oh yeah, there is something else that you need, but I'll show you that once we get going. Now I use a glue stick to apply the papers. And you can certainly use your white glue. No, I'm just using whatever I have in this. There is no special glue for me. I just use what I have. And then when I actually put the rolls together, now I made this a little bit crooked, but I'll just take my scissors and trim it. When I put the pieces together, I do use my hot glue gun. Now you don't have to. You can certainly use your white glue. It just takes a little longer to set, right? And I can probably go this way. Now, some of you might think, well, why am I bothering to even cover the roll? Yeah, you're not going to see it once the items on there, but it might peek through. You don't know, and it's always nice to have things finished and look more professional. Instead of looking like a toilet paper roll. If you don't have a roll of like a toilet paper roll or paper towel roll, there's a few options. You can phone a friend and just get everybody to get their jobs done and get some rolls to you. Or you can certainly make one. I would suggest you could make one out of, maybe you make a masterboard and then cut it and roll it into a paper roll. And you might have other cylinder-shaped items that you can use. Maybe you have a makeup container that is empty. Maybe you have a pill bottle that's empty. There are lots of options as to what you can use to create that cylinder shape. I always like to find creative ways to use things and to source materials so that I'm never dependent on buying certain things and restricting myself to. That's a little bit long. I think I'm covered here now. Okay, I will put that on the next roll. Okay, so my roll is covered. I will go back with my glue stick sometimes and just catch the edges a little bit because this is lifting a little tiny bit. But once you get going, it's, you know what it's like when you make a masterboard. You have to go back and press some of them down. So, oh, I did miss a spot. I thought maybe I had a Oh, great. Now I need another one. Okay. That took a little extra time, but we are covered. Okay, so once your roll is covered, then you want to cover your discs that your circles that you've made, and you only want to cover one side. You're going to cover the inside part. Doesn't matter which is which. They both work fine. Now, I pre-cut mine from book pages only because it was, I have no shortage of book pages, and it was easy to do. So I just apply the glue on here. And add it onto my circle. Now you can use your scrapbook papers, your gift wrap, any leftover collage bits, whatever you like. Like I said, I'm just using book pages because they're neutral. There's no shortage of them. They come free with every book. And it's just a nice way to create a neutral roll. And they're easy to cut out too, using your die cutters if you have a die cutter. But all of this can be cut by hand. It's not, you don't have to have those types of tools. It just takes you a little bit longer. And it doesn't have to be super perfect. Some people say, oh, well, I can't cut a circle to save my life. Well, you're not going to notice if it's 100% perfect by the time we're finished. So don't fret over not being able to cut a perfect circle if you don't have a die cutter or you don't have the right size. I'm using a 4-inch disc, but you could certainly use a 3-inch. There's lots of room, and it also depends on the roll you use. Like some of these rolls are very thin, like not very big at all. And so if you used a 3-inch disc, you would have just an equal amount of space to roll things onto. I'm just going to trim this away a little bit. Okay, so now that I have the circle covered, my next step is to use my dowel, and I want the dowel to go through the roll, and I'm going to make holes in here to hold it in place. Now, you can just glue directly on here. I find that, I like this to be a little bit more sturdy, and I've made these rolls in the past before. I used to make them and put tinsel on them because they looked pretty. And the only thing is that if you have a situation where you've got a lot of stress, this will come off. And a perfect example of that is, how many times have you bought rolls of ribbon where these things fall off and then your ribbon is all over the place? If you haven't, it will happen. So I like to put the dowel inside just as extra stability to hold the roll together. So in order to do that, I need the dowel to be 1/8 of an inch, 1/8 longer than the actual roll. That's why I say it's important that you know how long your roll is. Now, for me, I've just made so many of these that I just take a pair of pliers and I just cut it. I know exactly where to cut it. So I'm just going to cut this. Now they're going to go flying if I don't hold on to both of them. So you may want to have some type of snips or a little hand saw to saw your piece. So it's just barely bigger than the roll. And the whole idea is you want it to go into the cardboard, but not come out on the other side, because we want to be able to stand these and stack them, so you don't want anything sticking out. So yeah, just because I said I'm good at cutting these things, I think I cut it too long. It's going to end up in my coffee. I know it. There we go. This should do it. Yeah, that's pretty good. And so I'm just going to round that up a little bit more. So that's the only reason I use these. So you could use a straw, you could use a pencil, cut down to size if you wish. So it's just for stability. But if you feel that you don't need it, then you can just glue directly onto here. So the only other thing I do next is I want to stuff this, because if you don't, you don't get the right shape, and it will cave in with the weight of whatever fabrics and trims and laces that you put on here. So I like to stuff it. So to make sure that my dowel, I'm going to get this out of my way now too. To make sure that my dowel will be in the center of here, I could stand here and hold it. Here we go. I could stand here and hold it, or I can stuff around it. So I'm going to stuff around it. I snipped this too short. Okay, Kim, that's embarrassing. Get out your measuring tool and actually measure it. There we go. Okay. Shame, shame. I'll use that on the next roll. Wasn't paying attention to what I was doing. Okay, that's better. So what I do to stuff it, now I've got too many here. I got to keep track of which one it is. I take the middle and inside layers of paper napkins, and I just roll them around the dowel. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It's just my way of stuffing paper in so that we know that this dowel is going to be in the center. And, it's a great way to use up these extra pieces. And as long as you can find the roll. Now, everybody will have their own different method, but I just kind of make like a little sandwich, like a little, I think they call it pigs in a blanket, right? Where you make with a hot dog in dough. It's kind of the same thing. Gosh, I haven't made those in years. I think that was one of the first things we learned in home ec, wasn't it? Okay, so then once I've got it sort of stuffed, I fill the toilet paper like that. Now, that's not enough in my mind. I want more. I want it to be nice and tight. So now I can just push this down. The dowel is in the center, reasonably in the center. So I can take more pieces, and I use napkins. I use dryer sheets. You could even use dryer lint, now that I think about it. Great way to reuse that dryer lint, right? Some people get quite creative with their dryer lint. And so because now I can see that it's centered, I can just stuff around it to fill in so that it's nice and full. And then I turn it over to make sure that I can find it on this side, and then I push down a little bit more and add more papers. I've got lots here. I just have to reach them. Great way to use this stuff up. Actually, that's too much. I'll just tear it in pieces. Now, you could stuff them with paper. It's whatever you have. Tissue paper, Christmas wrapping paper that's left over from Christmas. Just so that it's nice and full. And we will get the ugly bits tucked in as we go along. So I'm just going to set that aside for now. So now we want to punch holes into these things. And the easiest way to punch or to find the center, because that's what you want, is the center of your dowel, is to take a piece of paper that matches the size of your disc that you're going to put the hole into. And I fold, now you could use just a scrap piece of paper. I fold it in half, and then I fold it in half again. So you've got this quarter shaped, or a quarter size of, it's a quarter of a circle. And then I just take my scissors and I just snip the end of it off, the little point. And then you open it up, and there's your template for making your hole. So then I just lined it up on the paper, and take a pen or a pencil or whatever you've got, and I make my little circle. And I'll do the same on this one. And you only have to do it on the one side, on the inside, and you won't see that when you're done. And then taking my crocodile, but you can also use your other punch tools. And, you know, if you don't have one of these, a pokey tool will work fine to get you started. And then I've pushed skewers through here, so you can use this as well to poke your hole. The only thing is you want to make sure that your hole is the size of the dowel that you're going to use. So it's just a matter of pushing it through, and you do want to push it right through so that you have it to you know that it fits and that it will go through completely. And then you just may want to push down these little bits or cut them off a little bit when you're using once you've got it glued in, or sand it back with a little bit of sandpaper or something, because you want this to be nice and smooth. So in this case I've already used this to punch the hole, so I'm just going to move those ugly bits to the inside. You're not going to see them, so that it's not raised in any way on this side. But you know, I do have the big bite, and I have marked my hole, so I just lined it up. And the hole is made. So great little tool. So once you've got your holes in, it's a matter of starting to put it together. So I just find my dowel. I just push all of this down with my fingers, and I'm using the hot glue gun, and I put a little bit of hot glue gun on the dowel itself. And, you know, you can't hold it all down and do this at the same time and glue the whole thing. So as long as I get a little bit of glue to just tack it into place. And it doesn't have to be perfect. You can cover that up so that it doesn't show. And you want to make sure that you're putting the finished side down, because that's the inside of your roll. And then I just rest it on top of the dowel. And then I just kind of push it back a little bit so that it's laying flat. And that little bit of glue that I put on the roll is enough to get it held down. And then I turn it over, and I take my hot glue and I glue all around with a bead of glue. And you can do this with your white glue. It takes a little bit longer to set. You're not going to see it. It's going to dry clear. I mean, you're going to see it if you were looking for it. And then I've got it turned over now, and I've done the same thing. I've pushed the paper down inside. Okay. And just holding the paper down, you know, with this finger so it doesn't pop up again. I mean, if it does stay down, that's great, but it might pop up a little bit. And then I just put a little hot glue on the dowel itself. And then a little bit around the edges just to catch it. And remembering to put this way down onto your roll, onto the dowel. And then you can feel that the dowel is holding it together, and it's nice and flush. So I've made my dowel the 4 1/8 of an inch. So it's just 1/8 longer than your roll that you're using, because that's about your cardboard is probably about 1/16 of an inch thick if you're using corrugated cardboard. Now, if you're using chipboard, or maybe you have cardstock that you've got several layers glued together, you just want to check to make sure that your dowel isn't going to go through the pieces to leave that little bump there. Not that it's the end of the world if it goes through that way on the one side, that if you're going to decorate it. But if you're going to stack them, as I mentioned, or use them as a display base, like look how fast and easy that is. So if you're going to use them as a display base, then you need them to be flush on the bottom and you need them to be flush on top to display something, unless it's something where you don't have to worry about something protruding and it will sit around it. That's possible too. Okay, so I didn't glue the this one yet, so I'm just going to go around and glue that down with my glue gun. Now you can use your white glue or glue gun, and then if you don't like the glue showing, it really doesn't show that much. If you don't like the glue showing, you can also cover it with some trims or some fibers or something to make it look a little more decorative. But there you go. We've got the start of our roll. Isn't that awesome? So then you need 2 more pieces to cover the top and bottom. Now, I again have them pre-cut, so I'm just going to use 2 of the same papers. When I make these things, I make lots. And I've already done a project where I had cut these holes out for the rest of the project. I didn't need this circle part, so it was easy to make these spools because I already have about 50 of these. So taking my paper back here, I'm just going to glue down. Oh, didn't close my glue. Hopefully it's not too hard here. And I wouldn't be too concerned as long as you're going to use the tissue paper or washi tape or something afterwards to cover the edges, if it doesn't line up perfectly, or if you have a little bit of a lifty bit. Okay, and then turning it over, I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Now, like I said, I have gone from spool back and forth to flat cards to spools. I do like these. I do like these spools because they're flat and that they stack, and you will see them in my studio as we go along. And I don't use them for everything. You can, of course, you can make them really fancy and use them for storing. You can make long ones like this and store 10 colors of trims on there if you want. I just use them for things like snippet rolls or fringe or wider laces. I don't bother to use it for my small laces because those I have a different system. And yeah, they're just decorative. They look nice in your studio, and it just makes you feel more creative when you see these things in your studio. At least for me, it does. So, oh, I need this still. So the next thing is to cover these edges. Now, again, that's entirely up to you. You don't have to cover them. You don't even have to collage on these at all if you're comfortable with just the brown card chipboard showing through, or corrugated cardboard, I mean, showing through. That's fine too. But again, it's a personal thing. But I like to cover these edges because you're going back and forth into these rolls, pulling things out. That's going to cause the paper to eventually lift in spots, especially if you haven't glued it down perfectly or there's a little bit of a nub sticking out. That's for sure what you're going to catch on, and then tear your papers. So I cut up tissue paper into strips. I don't tear it. I just fold it up, and I would do the same thing with napkins if I was using napkins. I just fold it up into a manageable piece and cut some strips that are maybe about a ½ an inch wide. So like your washi tape, about the same size as your washi tape. Well, I shouldn't say that. Some washi tape is really wide, isn't it? And then I just tear off small pieces, probably about 3 or 4 inches at a time. Trust me on this one. Do not attempt, and I know you will, but I'll say I told you so. Do not attempt to try and go around the whole thing at once because it doesn't work. Just trust me on that one, okay? So I'm going to take my glue stick, put a little bit of glue, and the reason I like using tissue paper is because it does take to the glue very well and doesn't fall apart. You know. And then I use it just like a tape. So that's why I say you could use your washi tape. And I run it across the edge of the roll here like this, so that it's kind of halfway. And then I start to wrap it down. Now, if I was doing washi tape, I would still put glue on the washi tape as well. You may want to work in longer pieces there, but I don't know. I always say, best to work in small pieces and then test it as you go along, because you don't want to. I got something stuck on my glue. Here we go. You don't want to be all caught up in that piece of tape. And I just add it onto the roll. Now, I've done lots of these in my lifetime, so I can maneuver them pretty easily. And I just push it into the paper on both sides. It doesn't take long to go around, so you'll have to watch me. And until it's done. And then, like I said, it's up to you if you decide you want to collage on here. You know, I always say bird, butterfly, flower, label, and you're done. If you have mulberry paper, that's the very soft handmade paper. That is, it's very wispy looking and gives a nice edge along the top here. That's very pretty to use. Lots of different colors. And you can use plain white tissue paper. You can use those same napkins that we use to stuff the roll. Exactly the same way. A little moment of silence here while I concentrate. And that side is done. And so, like I said, I'm going to finish off the other side of this. Now, as I said, I pre-cut these pieces because it was the negative part of the circle that I was using in cardboard for something else that you will see eventually in my studio. And so I ended up, I have about maybe 50 of these. So I can easily do about 25 rolls, which is why when I was planning to start making these things, I thought, oh, yeah, I can make them all 4 inches and then they'll be perfect size. Okay, I'm at the end of my roll here, or my glue. Now, if you're doing your white glue, you may want to wait for the roll to dry because, you know, you are handling it. Now, you know, I always keep the caps from my glue for making tassels. I do have a tutorial on that. Washi tape is very pretty too, because then you can get into your colors if you want colors. Just finding a spot here that isn't full of glue. Almost finished this. Just a couple more pieces. So you can see it doesn't take very much, and how fun and easy this is to put together and how decorative they're going to be. Okay, one more piece and I am finished. I hope you're enjoying watching the different channels already. I hope you've got some other creative and fun information from them. Okay, so there is my roll. We will put something on. I've got some lace here that I wanted to roll up on this thing. I've been pushing down on it, so it's a little bit warpy on the bottom here. So I'm just going to push it back up slowly, and it will get back into shape. But it is a perfect little spool. You know, like I said, you can ink them up, you can collage on here, you can make them look very vintagey and have all kinds of fun. You can use this as a display stand if you wanted to display some spools of thread. You know, you could have different little creations on there if you're selling. Maybe you're making jewelry. You make handmade jewelry. This would be a great little display stand for displaying jewelry. And then you can stack them all together and have fun creating displays that way. But yeah, I'm using them for lace and trim, and I will show you all of them when they are done. But I've only got the ones that you've seen so far because I just started getting back into it again. But when I make these, now it's got that dowel inside here, so I know there's added strength to hold this on. I don't have to worry about it popping off easily. You know, I've glued the edges. That's staying on there. It is stuffed. It's, you know, too bad we didn't put some weights in it. We could use them as arm weights. But this is, you know, my friends are going to laugh. Val, I know if you're watching, you're going to crack up because I say, when I make things, I know I can throw them across the room and I know that I don't have to worry. Thank goodness that this held up. but I like, you know, for me, it's quality of workmanship that I strive for. And I really like to know that I have created something that is going to last. So now the next thing is to put something wonderful on it. And I had this lace sitting here. Now, just because I don't like things sliding around on the roll, I do take, now you can use your double-sided tape. I just don't have any handy on the table here. But I do take a little tiny bit of glue, just enough to hold it, you know, so that you can pull it off after in the end anyway. And I just tack it in place. And then I know this is not going to slide around. And I know that it's not going to slide around on the roll as I'm rolling it. That's just my method. You can also use double-sided tape to just secure it basically, but I didn't have any handy. Don't use it very often. And this will be like watching paint dry too. But this is just to show you, there's probably about 6 yards here, just to show you how much you can get on a roll. It gets pretty, and it just will look nice on display. And if you use these big rolls, I find that pinning it with nice corsage pins. Oh, look at the color on that. There's some, I guess the dye was a little bit darker on this. I use corsage pins to hold my laces on. And you can pick those up at, you know, your local craft store, or, you know, like Michael's or Hobby Lobby or whatever you have in your area. Joann's. No, there isn't any more Joann's, is there? They've gone bankrupt. But you can see how much is on this roll, and I've gone around here a few times. And how much more I can store on here. Now, I personally like things to be, you know, reasonably uniform, because once you start going with large and small and tall and short, you run into storage problems. When they're all the same, they all stack the same, then you know, that it gives you a more uniform look, and you don't have to worry about where you're going to fit that little one, which is why, you know, I made those 2 little ones to show you, but it's not, I'm not fond of doing that. I would rather, if I've got small stuff like that, I would rather card it on flat cards that take up less space, because those tiny little rolls, how do you stack them? You really can't stack too many because they, you know, they don't stack as well as these larger ones. And these larger ones, of course, you know, you would have something more substantial on them, so they will hold up better for stacking. So I use corsage pins to pin them, and they just look pretty. I mean, you can use any kind of pin you like, or even a safety pin, but that just holds it on. And you can see I have lots of room here. So if you have some yardage of something, you would certainly fit it on here very nicely. This is also a great way to make your own rolls, to store Christmas lights, to store tinsel. I have many of these that I store tinsel on for, not tinsel, like garland. We don't use tinsel in our house. But yeah, so you can make them different sizes for doing stuff like that. Like this would be a gorgeous one with the ends on it for storing tinsel. So it's the same principle, and garland, not tinsel, garland. So same idea, done exactly the same way. And I would again put a dowel inside here so that it gives it more stability. So it's just about 1/8 of an inch in total extra over the height of your tooth. So that's it for my video for today. I hope you enjoyed this. Like I said, bed sheets, lace, snippet rolls, whatever you have, they all look beautiful put on these rolls. They are all going to stack very nicely. I'm not going to collage on mine much. I did do some collage on this one, just some simple little things on either end, but I realized I don't need it because they're going to stack, so it really doesn't matter what's on them, but it's entirely up to you. And, you know, it depends on where you're going to put them in display. These would look pretty stacked up in a basket, like a great big laundry basket, a wicker one or a willow one, just filled with different colors, would be very, very pretty. Or on a shelf, you know, you can stack them up 1, 2, 3 high on a shelf, and they would still look lovely. This one's a longer one again, so it's not something I would do all the time, but whoops, knock that over. But it's, you know, I might have maybe 3 or 4 of these sitting somewhere because it's a wider trim that I'm putting on them. But for the most part, I think I would stay with all one size, or maybe 1 or 2 variations. That's about it. So that's it for my video for today. I hope you enjoyed that. Oh, I see I didn't finish the ends on these. I must have got happy and just not did them. Didn't do them. So I got to go back and finish those. But I hope you got something out of this. I hope it's something you can use. Please leave me comments below. And also, do check my description box for the information on all the other collaborators. You're going to see some fun organizing ideas and tips that, you know, will help you with all your creative stuff in your studio. Otherwise, I will see you for another session of this on the 25th, I think. You'll have to check the calendar. If you like what you see, please subscribe to my channel, like, comment. It's all good. See you all soon. Bye for now.